Hey everyone, and welcome. So if you've ever tried to bring a beautiful old piece of furniture back to life, you know the struggle all too well. For decades, we've been battling with layers of paint, old varnish, and just grime. It's a challenge as old as the craft itself. But what if the next big leap forward in wood restoration wasn't about more chemicals or more elbow grease, but about light?
I mean, really think about it for a second. You know the drill, right? Hours and hours with a sander, just choking on clouds of sawdust. Or maybe you've gone the chemical route. Those harsh smells, the sticky, messy goo, and then all the waiting and scraping. It's just a tough, thankless part of the job standing between you and the amazing wood hiding underneath.
And let's just be real about the downsides here. These old-school methods are incredibly slow. You always run the risk of gouging the wood, putting scratches in it, or raising the grain on the very piece you're trying to save. And the health risks? Man, from breathing in all that fine dust to dealing with nasty chemical fumes, it's far from ideal.
So what if you could strip away decades of old finishes with surgical precision without ever physically touching the wood? What if you could do it way faster, way cleaner, and a whole lot safer? Okay, you see where I'm going with this. Let's get into it.
This is where we introduce a seriously game-changing technology that is completely shaking things up for restorers and craftsmen. Laser cleaning. Yeah, you heard that right. It's a method that uses the focused power of light to do what used to take brute force or a bucket of harsh chemicals.
The whole idea almost sounds like magic, doesn't it? The laser targets and literally vaporizes all the stuff you don't want. Paint, varnish, even mold and stains. But it leaves the delicate wood grain underneath completely untouched. You're left with zero consumables, zero mess, and zero damage. And hey, this isn't just some theory. The results really do speak for themselves. The folks at Chihalo point this out all the time. The level of preservation you get is it's something traditional methods can't even come close to matching. It's really the difference between just stripping something down and truly restoring it.
So the big question is, how on earth is this possible? How can a beam of light be strong enough to blast away paint, but gentle enough to leave the wood totally unharmed? Well, it all comes down to some really clever science. Let's break it down.
The key principle here is something called selective absorption. Okay, think of it like this. It's like wearing a black t-shirt versus a white one on a really sunny day. The junk you want to remove, the paint, the stain, is like that black shirt. It soaks up the laser's energy and gets super hot, vaporizing almost instantly. The wood underneath, it's like the white shirt. It reflects most of that energy, staying cool and totally safe.
So, the whole process, which is called laser ablation, happens in 4 incredibly fast steps. First, the machine shoots out a focused laser beam. Second, the paint or stain gobbles up all that energy. Third, this causes this really rapid, intense heat that makes the gunk literally pop off the surface as vapor. And fourth, because this all happens in nanoseconds, the wood beneath is completely protected from the heat.
Now this next part is absolutely critical, so listen up. For wood, you have to use what's called a pulsed laser. It delivers its energy in these tiny controlled bursts, which gives the surface a microsecond to cool down between pulses. A continuous wave laser, on the other hand, is like taking a constant blowtorch to the wood. It's just going to scorch or burn it. So the takeaway is simple. For wood, it has to be pulsed. End of story.
All right, of course, whenever you talk about cool new tech, the big question is always, what's it going to cost me, and is it actually worth it? And yeah, the upfront price tag is higher than a can of stripper and a scraper, but believe me, the long-term financial picture tells a very, very different story.
Let's just look at the total cost over 5 years. Okay, yes, the laser equipment has that higher initial cost. I see it. But look at the other rows. $0 a year for consumables, 0 for waste disposal. When you actually add it all up, the laser comes out to be less than half the cost of sandblasting or chemical stripping over a 5-year period. And this chart just makes it so visually obvious, right? Look at those tall bars for sandblasting and chemicals. They're just filled with all these recurring costs: sand, chemicals, disposal fees that never ever go away. The laser, on the other hand, is basically a one-time investment with super minimal upkeep. The long-term savings are they're enormous.
But here's the real kicker. The biggest savings actually come from your time. In one example, for a restoration business, switching to a laser freed up so much labor time that it led to an annual savings of $36,000. I mean, that's not just paying for the machine anymore. That's fueling some serious growth for your business.
In fact, for a busy shop, the return on that investment can be just astonishingly fast. The source material calculates that a professional business could see a full ROI in under 3 months. Think about that. That's how quickly this technology can start making you money.
Okay, so maybe you're thinking, all right, I'm sold. I get it. But not all lasers are the same. So the next logical question is, which machine is the right one for your projects? Well, the key is really matching the laser's power to what you're trying to do.
And this chart makes it super simple. If you're working on, say, priceless museum antiques, you'll want a lower power 100 to 200 watt machine for absolute maximum control. For a typical furniture restoration business, that 200 to 300 watt range is really the sweet spot. It's the perfect balance of speed and safety. And as you'd expect, as your volume goes up, so does the power you'll want.
You know, the cool thing is that the people using this technology are incredibly diverse. It's not just for massive industrial shops. We're seeing it used by all kinds of restoration pros, by museum conservators who need the most delicate touch possible, by custom furniture makers who want a perfect surface to start with, and even by really serious home renovators looking for that professional edge.
And here's a little pro tip for anyone who's seriously considering a purchase. Buying factory direct from a manufacturer like Chihalo can really cut down that initial investment. We're talking savings anywhere from 15 to 30% compared to going through a typical retail distributor. That's a big deal.
So as we start to wrap this up, it's pretty clear that this is so much more than just a new fancy tool. It really represents a fundamental shift in how we approach the entire craft of restoration. We're now prioritizing preservation and efficiency in a way that just was never possible before. So let's just recap the biggest takeaways here. Laser cleaning wins because it gives you a perfect finish with absolutely no damage. It completely eliminates all those ongoing costs for consumables and waste. It drastically cuts down your labor time. It's safer for you and for the antique. And of course, it delivers a massive long-term return on investment. And all of that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. When the most difficult, the most damaging, and the most time-consuming part of restoration is basically perfected by technology, it frees up the artisan, it frees up you to focus on what truly matters, the finishing, the detail, the art. It really makes you wonder, what new heights can craftsmanship reach then?